Hello, everyone, and today we are discussing data security. What should you be putting in AI? What should you not? Which system protects your data more? And so today we're going to be going over and we're going to be looking at all the different platforms. And we're going to be asking it simple, what are you doing with my data? How are you using my data? And I want you to see the answers that they're giving you. And then we're going to use a tool called Perplexity that kind of pulls them all together. So first of all, let's start with ChatGPT. Start with a new chat. But while we're doing this, remember, don't forget to share, subscribe, and like the channel below. I mean, look, I don't have my glasses on, so I spelled "give me" wrong, but I think it's going to get the idea. So here it's telling us exactly what it's doing with our data, that there's no long-term storage, and all these different things. Now, it's important to understand that, remember, ChatGPT is the wrapper, OpenAI is the brain here. And that's what I want you to remember as I go through each one of these. OpenAI, the brain here. Claude, that one's going to be the brain. Gemini is actually going to be its own brain. On Manus, it's actually going to be on Claude as well. So let's now understand that when you share the data, it's important as we go through this. Remember, any kind of data you're putting in here, it's going to be absolutely public to everyone, especially if you're doing a free version of something. Now, if you do a paid version, you may have a little bit of a paywall, but you got to be careful here because you're using all these different ones. And so they could be storing your data. Now, like on ChatGPT, you could go up here in the settings, though, and change it where they're not using their data to train your model. So it's something you could do there. But as you can see with ChatGPT, this is exactly, some ways that you could do to protect your data. Whatever data you're putting in here, but remember, you don't want to be putting things like customer data births. So any super personal information, my rule of thumb is I don't put it in there. For example, we use a lot of AI to create content. We're using very specific. So what I'm looking for is it's searching my HubSpot, but what it's pulling is like a flood insurance policy that's got the premium, it's got an address for a zip code, it's got a cost, those kinds of things. I can analyze a lot of this data without actually using the personal information, especially on flood, because it's really based on the address. So I can look at claims in an area. I can look at rate increases in an area. I can look at the typical amount of coverage in an area or how long it takes to get insurance in a certain area. So I can use still a lot of this data. So what you may want to do is when you're exporting stuff from your CRM, which may be Agency Zoom, Levitate, another one, make sure when you export it, you're not exporting the customer's name, date of birth, things that really are not going to be relevant in how you need to use it. Then when you take that spreadsheet, you could load it up to a ChatGPT, to a Manus, which I'll show you in just a second, where it can help analyze that data for you. And so this is what ChatGPT is telling us on how it's protecting our data. So what this tells us is that maybe we should go with the optional temporary memory, where it does not remember it long term. So that may be a benefit there. All right. So now you kind of see what ChatGPT does. Now let's go over to Manus. Now, for those of you who don't know Manus, it's kind of built on Claude. Let's ask it the same thing. And so Manus takes a little bit longer to do things sometimes because it's going into a little deeper research here. So Manus could take a while to do that. So while Manus is doing that, let's go back over here to Gemini and ask Gemini the same thing. So we're asking Gemini the same thing. Hey, what are you doing with my data? And you can kind of see the information it's collecting. And what we're looking for here is really privacy controls, data retention, those kinds of things. You don't want all this data just sitting out here where I can get a hold of it. One reason is not really even personal information, but the data inside your organization. That could be your competitive advantage. I could have things with my customers that are different than yours. So that you don't want to give necessarily that data, that competitive advantage away. And so you want to be careful in doing this. One way is connecting apps a certain way, and it's just throwing data on there on Gemini. Like Gemini connects to a lot of different things. And when we're looking at these different apps like Google, the G Drive, the Gmail, all these different things, you could connect all these things to make things really easy, but you want to be careful. So remember, always use the paid version. I don't care if it's $20 a month. It's always better than the free version when it comes to some security. And so you want to be very careful here on what you connect, what you put in here, and how you put it in here. So that's Gemini. Let's go back and see if Manus is ready. Not yet. So Manus is taking a while because it's a deep thinker. Now let's go over the Perplexity. And remember, I like to look at Perplexity more of a search tool. So let's actually go to Perplexity Labs. So now we're asking it how it protects the data that we give it. Now remember, with Perplexity, typically Perplexity is built into the Claude or GPT. It's using a different brain when it's putting all this research together. You could think of Perplexity kind of like an AI version of Google, where it's pulling all this data together. And you can kind of see how the data, personal data is not used in the training, the data privacy and ownership. But remember, Perplexity does not have its own brain. And so you want to remember that when you're using this. This is why we use Perplexity so much as a research tool. It can go and collect all these different things. And you can even see the compliance and all these things. You can see now why so many companies use their local LM models to protect data. I mean, we've built one here with our different companies as well. Now let's see if Manus is ready. Nope, still not. Still taking a while. But maybe it's because I didn't hit start agent. Let's see what happens. So now it tells me that it's thinking. Let's see if it comes back in just a second. So we've gone through Gemini. We've gone through ChatGPT, which is built on OpenAI. And we have gone through Perplexity. Let's even ask Perplexity. See if it lets me sign in real quick. There we go. So now we've asked actually Perplexity, hey, which model is going to protect our data the best? Let's even tell us what we're doing. And now you start to see too the power of Perplexity when it comes to research and how some different things it can be used for. And look, Perplexity Labs is pretty crazy. And I'll do a video on Perplexity Labs and how to use it for research in your agency, analyzing certain data, building a SWOT analysis, building a marketing plan, all these different things. So let's look at these now. how it's even told us how ChatGPT is using our data. So you see this right here, OpenAI, where it may be shared with users with Manus. See, it may share location data with other companies. It says that the data is encrypted. Now let's look at Gemini. And how Gemini's is looked at. So that's giving us a summary. And it's even telling you what to look for here. It's even asking. I'm thinking it's going to recommend probably Manus, but I may be wrong. You see, we've got all this additional information here. But as you can see, one thing that it's telling us is really, getting that business plan, that enterprise plan. Now let's go back over to Manus to see if Manus has got anything ready. See, it's still thinking here. Maybe I've overworked it today. But when you're trying to get more of a neutral answer, go into something like Perplexity may be the better idea for you because remember, Perplexity is not built on one certain brain. You can use different brains. Now let's see if I can get over here to the labs and see what things are going to look like for you. Let's see. All right, now what I'm asking is I'm asking it to help me pick this. As I analyze data for my insurance agency, now I don't want to put date of birth, I don't want to put phone numbers, I don't want to put customers' names or things like that in here. So let's see, and this is Labs. So Labs, it goes in much deeper. So let's see what Labs is coming back with. And let's see if Manus is ready yet. Nope. Something's going on with Manus there. So you can see Perplexity over here working, putting all these different things together as it researches all these different models. And we're just waiting on it to do this. As I said, this is Perplexity Labs. It goes way deeper than the regular Perplexity. And at the top here, you can even tell me, you can even see that it says, hey, 5 minutes left to gather information. So let's let it do its work, and then we're going to come back and check on it. All right, so we've let Perplexity do its work here. And you can see the key findings, the top recommendations is one still called LeadChat. Tells us the features, it tells us all these things. The Enterprise, which is the mainstream alternative, and these different things. So when you're trying to decide what you're going to do with your data, this is what you want to look at. Look, let's see if Manus is even open yet. It may not be. No, still not. Let's see. Yep, here we go. That's Perplexity. So this is what you want to take a look at. Manus is still not working, but Perplexity was a great tool to do our research there to kind of give us maybe a more neutral thing. So when you're looking at your data, this is how you want to look at it, and you can even see how it's helping me build a plan. So this is how to decide on what you're going to do with your data and protect it the best way.